There are moments in life that seem ordinary on the surface, yet carry something profound underneath them. You meet someone, exchange words, move through daily routines, and think nothing unusual is happening. But beneath visible reality, emotions begin forming in places no one can immediately see. Sometimes a person enters your life and experiences something they cannot explain. They feel familiar with you before truly knowing you. They notice your presence differently from everyone else. They remember small details, revisit conversations in their mind, and carry emotions they never intended to feel. What you never realize is that while you continue living your life, someone has quietly been carrying a truth inside themselves since the day they met you. Carl Jung believed that human beings are not guided only by conscious decisions, but also by powerful forces hidden in the unconscious mind. According to his perspective, people are often drawn toward others because they awaken forgotten parts of themselves. Certain connections feel immediate because they touch something ancient within us. Jung described this as a meeting between inner worlds rather than simple attraction. And if you are listening to this right now, there is a possibility that someone has been carrying a truth about you for much longer than you imagine. Not for a few days, not for a few weeks, but perhaps for months, perhaps even for years. The strange thing about hidden emotions is that they often leave clues long before words appear. Someone begins paying attention to details that seem insignificant. They remember things you casually mentioned and forgot about 5 minutes later. They notice when your energy changes. They recognize when you are pretending to be okay. They see shifts in your mood that nobody else seems to notice. And they never tell you, because some emotions grow quietly. Some emotions develop beneath the surface where no one can see them. Jung believed that the unconscious mind often recognizes meaning before the conscious mind understands it. In other words, people sometimes feel something important long before they can explain it. That is why a person can leave a conversation and continue thinking about it for hours. That is why a simple smile can remain in someone's memory long after the moment has passed. That is why one ordinary encounter can quietly become unforgettable. Most people assume love begins with certainty, but Jung understood something different. Love often begins with confusion. A person suddenly finds themselves thinking about someone more often than expected. They begin wondering why this particular individual occupies their thoughts. They tell themselves it is temporary. They tell themselves it will pass. They tell themselves it means nothing. Yet the feeling remains. Days become weeks, weeks become months, and still the feeling remains. What started as curiosity becomes attention. What started as attention becomes admiration. What started as admiration slowly becomes emotional attachment. But here is where the story becomes interesting. Many people never planned to fall in love. They never woke up one morning and decided it would happen. Instead, it happened gradually, quietly, unexpectedly, like rain filling a river one drop at a time. And because they never expected it, they often resist it. They create explanations. They create distance. They create reasons why they should not feel what they feel. Yet emotions born from deeper layers of the psyche rarely disappear, simply because we want them to. Jung often spoke about the tension between what we know consciously and what exists unconsciously. A person may tell themselves they are unaffected, yet their behavior reveals something else entirely. They check for messages. They replay conversations. They wonder how your day went. They notice your absence. They become interested in your victories and concerned about your struggles, not because they are trying to, but because caring changes perception. Once someone becomes emotionally important, attention naturally follows. And perhaps that is what makes hidden affection so powerful. It asks for nothing. It demands nothing. It often exists without expectation. It simply remains, quietly, faithfully, patiently, while the outside world continues as normal. Think about that for a moment. Right now, somewhere in the world, there are people carrying emotions they have never spoken aloud. People who smile normally while hiding extraordinary feelings. People who appear calm while fighting internal storms. People who wonder whether they should finally tell the truth. And perhaps one of those people is connected to you. Perhaps someone remembers the first day they met you with astonishing clarity. Perhaps they remember what you were wearing. Perhaps they remember your voice. Perhaps they remember the exact moment something shifted inside them. Not because they intended to remember it, but because meaningful moments imprint themselves deeply upon the mind. Jung believed that meaningful encounters are rarely random. Some people enter our lives to awaken something. Some arrive to challenge us. Some arrive to transform us. And some arrive to reveal parts of ourselves we never knew existed. That is why certain connections feel different from the beginning. They do not necessarily feel louder. They feel deeper. There is a difference. The loudest emotions are not always the strongest. Sometimes the strongest emotions are the quietest. The ones carried silently. The ones protected carefully. The ones hidden beneath ordinary conversations. And if you've ever felt an unexplainable connection with someone, if you've ever wondered whether another person sees you differently than they admit, type the number 7 in the comments below. Not because it is magic, not because it predicts anything, but because I want to know how many people listening have experienced a connection they could never fully explain. And as you comment, remember this. Somewhere someone may be fighting a battle between fear and honesty. Somewhere someone may be trying to gather the courage to reveal what they have carried for a very long time. Because the truth is this: love often begins in silence, but silence cannot hold truth forever. Eventually something changes. Eventually the heart grows tired of hiding. Eventually what has been concealed begins asking to be seen. And that is where our story truly begins. Because what happens next is not simply about attraction. It is about recognition. It is about the unconscious. It is about fear. It is about transformation. And most importantly, it is about the moment when a hidden truth becomes impossible to ignore. Because what happens next is not simply about attraction. It is about recognition. It is about the unconscious. It is about fear. It is about transformation. And most importantly, it is about the moment when a hidden truth becomes impossible to ignore. Carl Jung believed that every human being carries an inner world far larger than most people realize. Beneath our daily conversations, responsibilities, routines, and appearances exists a vast landscape of emotions, memories, desires, fears, and possibilities. Most of this landscape remains hidden from conscious awareness, yet it quietly influences the decisions we make, the people we notice, and the connections that leave lasting marks upon our lives. This is why some encounters feel different. You meet hundreds of people throughout your lifetime. You exchange words with strangers. You pass individuals on busy streets. You work alongside people. You share brief moments with countless faces. Most of these encounters fade naturally, but occasionally one remains. One conversation lingers. One smile stays in memory. One presence refuses to disappear. And Jung believed that when this happens, something deeper may be occurring beneath the surface. The unconscious mind recognizes significance before logic catches up. Imagine someone meeting you for the first time. Outwardly, everything appears ordinary. Perhaps it was a short conversation. Perhaps it lasted only minutes. Perhaps it seemed completely insignificant. Yet after leaving, they find themselves thinking about you. Not obsessively, not dramatically, just persistently. You return to their thoughts unexpectedly, while driving, while working, while lying awake at night. Your voice echoes in memory. Your expressions replay themselves. The details remain vivid. At first, they dismiss it. Surely it means nothing. Surely they are overthinking. Surely the feeling will fade. Yet days pass, then weeks, then months, and still the feeling remains. This is where inner conflict begins, because the conscious mind wants certainty. It wants explanations. It wants clear answers. But emotions rarely follow such simple rules. The heart often recognizes truths long before the mind is ready to accept them. So the person begins creating distance. Not physical distance necessarily. Emotional distance. They convince themselves they should remain rational. They tell themselves not to read too much into the connection. They focus on other things. They distract themselves with work, responsibilities, goals, and routines. Yet every attempt to forget somehow leads back to remembrance. Every effort to move on somehow circles back to the same person. Jung explored the idea that what we resist often becomes stronger. Not because resistance creates emotion, but because resistance reveals emotion. If a feeling truly meant nothing, there would be no need to fight it, no need to suppress it, no need to explain it away. The struggle itself becomes evidence that something meaningful exists beneath the surface. And so the hidden affection continues growing, quietly, patiently, like roots beneath the earth, invisible to everyone, yet expanding every day. What makes this process so powerful is that genuine affection changes perception. The person begins noticing things they never noticed before. Your kindness, your resilience, the way you handle disappointment, the way you treat people when nobody is watching, the way you continue moving forward despite challenges. Qualities that others overlook become unforgettable to them. And the strange thing is that these observations happen naturally. They are not trying to study you. They are not intentionally collecting memories. Yet the memories collect themselves. Jung believed that meaningful connections often act like mirrors. Certain people reveal aspects of ourselves we never knew existed. Perhaps your courage inspires them to become braver. Perhaps your authenticity encourages them to stop pretending. Perhaps your compassion awakens tenderness within them. Perhaps your strength challenges them to grow. Without realizing it, you become part of their inner transformation. And that is why the feeling becomes difficult to ignore. Because it is no longer only about attraction, it is about meaning. Meaning has power. Meaning changes people. Meaning stays. And once meaning enters a person's emotional world, life rarely returns to exactly what it was before. They begin imagining possibilities. Not dramatic fantasies, simple possibilities. What if they knew you better? What if they spent more time with you? What if they finally told the truth? What if the connection was mutual? What if everything changed? But alongside hope comes fear. Fear always follows vulnerability, because the moment someone truly cares, they also risk loss. They risk rejection. They risk misunderstanding. They risk disappointment. And many people would rather carry hidden emotions than face those possibilities. At least silence feels safe. At least silence preserves the current reality. At least silence protects them from hearing an answer they may not want to hear. So they continue pretending. The world sees normal conversations, normal interactions, normal behavior. Yet internally a completely different story unfolds. Every message matters. Every conversation matters. Every encounter matters. Not because they are desperate, but because the connection has become significant. The unconscious keeps reminding them, through memories, through emotions, through moments they cannot forget, and eventually a realization begins emerging. The feeling is not disappearing. It survived distance. It survived uncertainty. It survived time. Perhaps it was never temporary. Perhaps it was never merely curiosity. Perhaps it was always something deeper. If you've ever experienced a connection that stayed with you long after logic said it should have faded, comment the number 11 below. I want to know how many people understand what it feels like when someone leaves an impression that time cannot erase. Because Jung believed that the deepest truths often reveal themselves through persistence. Temporary emotions fade. Passing interests disappear. Surface attractions come and go, but meaningful connections endure. They remain present, even when circumstances change. And that endurance forces a person to confront a difficult question. What happens if the feeling is real? What happens if everything they have been trying to ignore is actually true? What happens if the person occupying their thoughts has quietly become one of the most important people in their emotional world? For many, this question becomes a turning point, a crossroads, a moment when avoidance stops working, a moment when honesty begins calling louder than fear. But before honesty can appear, another challenge must be faced, the challenge Jung called the shadow, the hidden fears, the hidden insecurities, The hidden doubts, the parts of ourselves we would rather avoid. Because before someone can confess their feelings to another person, they often must first confront the parts of themselves that have been standing in the way. And that confrontation changes everything, because the greatest obstacle is rarely the other person. The greatest obstacle is often the fear living within. Carl Jung believed that every person carries a shadow, not a shadow in the physical sense, but a psychological one, a hidden part of the self-containing fears, insecurities, doubts, wounds, and emotions that have been pushed out of conscious awareness. Most people spend years trying to avoid this part of themselves. They create routines, distractions, and identities that help them feel in control. They learn how to appear confident, even when uncertainty exists beneath the surface. They learn how to smile while carrying unanswered questions. They learn how to appear unaffected while secretly longing for something deeper. And nowhere does the shadow become more visible than in matters of the heart. Because love has a way of exposing everything we have been trying to hide. A person may believe they are strong until they meet someone whose opinion suddenly matters. They may believe they are fearless until they find themselves afraid of rejection. They may believe they are completely independent until they notice how much one person's presence affects their day. This is why hidden affection often becomes a journey of self-discovery. The feelings themselves are only part of the story. The deeper story is what those feelings reveal. Imagine someone who has quietly loved you since the day they met you. For a long time, silence felt manageable. It felt safe. It felt controlled. As long as the truth remained hidden, they could avoid vulnerability. They could continue living inside possibility rather than reality. They could imagine outcomes without risking disappointment. But over time, the shadow begins speaking. Questions emerge. Why am I still thinking about this person? Why does their happiness matter so much to me? Why does their absence feel different from everyone else's? Why do these emotions refuse to disappear? The more they ask these questions, the closer they move toward truth. And truth has power, because truth strips away excuses. Truth removes illusions. Truth forces honesty. Jung believed that genuine growth occurs when people stop running from what exists inside them and begin facing it directly. For someone carrying hidden feelings, this can be terrifying, because facing truth means facing fear, and fear rarely arrives alone. It brings companions. Fear of rejection, fear of embarrassment, fear of misunderstanding, fear of losing the connection entirely, fear that the feeling is one-sided, fear that honesty will destroy what silence has preserved. These fears become internal barriers, invisible walls built over time. And yet, despite all their strength, they cannot completely silence the heart. The heart continues remembering, continues hoping, continues wondering. The person may try convincing themselves that friendship is enough, that distance is healthier, that silence is wiser, but the feeling remains. And the longer it remains, the more difficult it becomes to ignore. Jung often emphasized that what remains hidden does not lose influence. In fact, hidden truths often become more powerful. An emotion pushed into the unconscious continues shaping thoughts, choices, and behavior without the person fully realizing it. This explains why someone can appear calm on the outside while carrying an emotional storm within. They may laugh during conversations. They may seem perfectly composed. They may never reveal what they feel. Yet internally, every interaction leaves an impact. Every shared moment becomes meaningful. Every memory gains emotional weight. They begin replaying conversations, not because they want to, because they cannot help it. The unconscious keeps returning to what matters, and eventually something unexpected happens. The person begins seeing you differently, not as an ideal, not as a fantasy, not as a perfect image, but as a real human being, with strengths and weaknesses, with flaws and uncertainties, with victories and struggles. And strangely, the feeling becomes stronger. Why? Because genuine affection grows when illusion fades. Many attractions disappear once reality appears, but deeper connections survive reality. They survive imperfection. They survive truth. Jung believed this was an important distinction. Projection creates fantasy. Love recognizes reality. When someone sees who you truly are and still feels drawn toward you, the connection moves beyond imagination. It becomes authentic, and authenticity is difficult to ignore. This realization creates a new challenge. The person can no longer blame their feelings on fantasy. They can no longer say it is merely curiosity. They can no longer dismiss it as temporary. The evidence has become too strong. The feeling has lasted too long. The connection has become too meaningful. Now they face a decision: continue hiding or become honest. This decision often takes time, much more time than people realize, because courage is rarely born in a single moment. Courage develops gradually, through reflection, through growth, through self-understanding, through countless internal battles nobody else sees. Each day they move a little closer to honesty. Each day fear loses a little power. Each day truth becomes a little louder. And eventually a remarkable shift occurs. Instead of asking, "What if they reject me?" they begin asking, "What if I never tell them?" Instead of fearing embarrassment, they begin fearing regret. Instead of worrying about what might happen if they speak, they begin wondering what will happen if they remain silent forever. This shift changes everything, because regret can become heavier than rejection. Many people can survive hearing no, but spending years wondering what if can become far more painful. Jung believed that individuation, the journey toward becoming whole, requires honesty. Not only honesty with others, honesty with yourself. A person cannot fully become themselves while denying an important truth inside. Eventually, authenticity demands expression. And that is why so many hidden feelings eventually rise to the surface. Not because circumstances become perfect, not because fear disappears, but because truth becomes stronger than concealment. If you have ever carried feelings you were afraid to express, or if you have ever wondered whether someone secretly felt more than they admitted, comment the number 21 below. Let's see how many people understand what it feels like to carry emotions that words cannot easily explain. Because the reality is this: the greatest battle is rarely between two people. The greatest battle often happens within one person. Between fear and courage, between silence and honesty, between protection and vulnerability. And when courage finally begins winning that battle, something extraordinary happens. The person starts preparing themselves for a possibility they once avoided. A confession. Not because they are certain of the outcome, but because they are finally certain of the truth. There comes a point in every meaningful emotional journey when silence no longer feels like protection. For a long time, silence may have felt safe. It may have felt wise. It may have felt necessary. But eventually something changes. The heart grows tired of carrying a truth alone. And according to Carl Jung, this is often the moment when the unconscious pushes what has been hidden toward conscious awareness. The feeling that once remained quietly in the background begins moving to the center of a person's attention. No matter how hard they try to focus elsewhere, the truth keeps returning. The same thoughts, the same emotions, the same questions, the same person. You. What makes this stage so powerful is that it rarely happens overnight. From the outside, it may look sudden. Someone confesses, someone opens up, someone finally admits what they feel. But internally, that moment has usually been building for a very long time. Months of reflection, months of hesitation, months of imagining conversations that never happened, months of rehearsing words that never left their lips. The confession begins long before the confession is spoken. Jung believed that people move toward wholeness when they stop dividing themselves, when the outer self and inner self finally begin working together. Before this happens, a person often lives in two worlds, one visible, one invisible. The visible world contains ordinary conversations, daily routines and familiar interactions. The invisible world contains hidden hopes, private emotions, unspoken fears, and imagined possibilities. For a while, both worlds coexist, But maintaining two realities becomes exhausting. The emotional weight grows heavier. The person starts noticing that silence is no longer bringing peace. Instead, silence becomes a burden, because every meaningful conversation now carries unsaid words behind it. Every goodbye contains things left unspoken. Every interaction becomes a reminder of what remains hidden. And this is where courage begins emerging. Not dramatic courage, not fearless courage, real courage. The kind that exists alongside fear. Many people misunderstand courage. They imagine courage means not being afraid. Jung understood something different. True courage means acting despite fear. The fear remains. The uncertainty remains. The risk remains. Yet the person moves forward anyway. This is one of the most transformative moments in human experience, because vulnerability changes everything. The person who once hid behind silence begins considering honesty. Not because honesty guarantees success, but because honesty restores authenticity, and authenticity is deeply important. Think about someone who has quietly loved you since the day they met you. Imagine how many times they almost said something. How many opportunities came and went. How many moments felt perfect, but were allowed to pass. How many conversations ended with words left unsaid. How many nights they wondered whether tomorrow would finally be the day. What keeps them silent for so long is rarely a lack of feeling. It is often the opposite. The feeling matters too much. When something becomes emotionally important, the possibility of losing it becomes frightening. So they wait. And wait. And wait. Yet waiting creates its own kind of pain, because hidden feelings do not remain frozen. They continue growing. Each meaningful interaction strengthens them. Each memory deepens them. Each passing month confirms them, until eventually the person reaches a realization. The truth already exists. Speaking it does not create it. Speaking it only reveals it. That realization changes everything. Suddenly the question is no longer, should I feel this way? Now the question becomes, what am I going to do about it? Jung often spoke about transformation as a process of integration, bringing hidden truths into awareness, accepting what exists instead of denying it. This applies to love as much as anything else. The person begins accepting a simple reality. They care, deeply, genuinely, honestly. No more excuses, no more rationalizations, no more pretending. And once acceptance arrives, expression becomes much more likely. Not immediately, but inevitably, because truth naturally seeks visibility. This does not mean the confession becomes easy. Far from it. In many ways, this is the hardest stage. The closer someone moves toward honesty, the more vulnerable they feel. Their heart becomes exposed. Their fears become visible. The possibility of rejection becomes real. But something else becomes real too. Freedom. Freedom from hiding. Freedom from pretending. Freedom from carrying the burden alone. And that freedom begins outweighing fear. The person starts imagining what life might feel like if they finally spoke honestly. Perhaps the answer would be positive. Perhaps it would not. But at least the truth would exist in the open. At least the uncertainty would end. At least they would no longer be divided between what they feel and what they express. This is why some confessions seem so emotional. Because they are not simply words. They are the conclusion of an internal journey. A journey through fear, through uncertainty, through self-discovery, through growth, through countless moments of hesitation. Every hidden feeling, every silent hope, every unanswered question, all of it leads to a single moment. The moment when the person decides that authenticity matters more than protection. And if you've ever had a conversation you wanted to have, but were afraid to start, comment the number 33 below. I want to know how many people understand the courage it takes to reveal something meaningful. Because the truth is that most people are not afraid of speaking. They are afraid of what speaking might change. Yet change is often necessary. Growth requires change. Transformation requires change. Authenticity requires change. And the person who has loved quietly for so long eventually understands this. They realize that silence has already shaped their life. Now honesty deserves a chance. And that realization becomes the doorway to the final chapter of this journey. In the end, some of the deepest emotions in life are not the ones spoken first. They are the ones carried quietly through time until truth becomes impossible to hide. Carl Jung believed that meaningful human connections are rarely limited to simple attraction. Beneath every powerful emotional experience lies an opportunity for self-discovery. We often think relationships are about finding another person, but Jung suggested something deeper. Sometimes another person enters our life not merely to be loved, but to reveal parts of ourselves that have been waiting to emerge. And that is why certain connections feel unforgettable. They change us, not always dramatically, not always visibly, but profoundly. A person who has secretly loved you since the day they met you has not simply been carrying affection. They have been carrying a journey through uncertainty, vulnerability, hope, fear, self-reflection, and growth. Every unanswered question forced them to look inward. Every hidden emotion required them to confront themselves. Every moment of silence taught them something about courage, authenticity, and what truly matters. This is why confessions often feel bigger than the words themselves. The words are only the surface. Beneath them exists an entire invisible story. A story nobody saw. A story nobody heard. A story lived quietly inside another human heart. Think about how remarkable that is. While you continued living your life, someone may have been remembering moments you forgot. Someone may have been carrying conversations you barely remember. Someone may have been quietly celebrating your successes. Someone may have been hoping for your happiness. Someone may have been finding inspiration simply in your existence, not because you were perfect, but because you became meaningful. And meaning is powerful. Jung understood that meaning transforms ordinary experiences into unforgettable ones. Two people can experience the same conversation. One forgets it the next day. The other remembers it for years. The difference is meaning. Meaning changes memory. Meaning changes attention. Meaning changes emotion. Meaning changes lives. That is why hidden affection survives longer than many people expect. It is not sustained by fantasy alone. It is sustained by significance. The person does not simply remember what happened. They remember what it meant. And when enough meaning accumulates, silence eventually becomes impossible to maintain. Not because the person suddenly becomes fearless, but because authenticity becomes more important than protection. Jung believed that one of the highest forms of psychological growth is the integration of truth. The moment when a person stops denying what exists inside and begins living honestly. This applies not only to love, it applies to every meaningful aspect of life. We become stronger when we stop hiding from ourselves. We become whole when we embrace what is true. And perhaps that is the real message hidden within this story. The confession is important, but the transformation behind the confession is even more important. Because before someone can reveal their feelings to another person, they must first become honest with themselves. They must stop running, stop denying, stop pretending. They must acknowledge what their heart has known all along. And that acknowledgement changes everything. Whether the feelings are returned or not, something valuable has already happened. The person has become authentic. They have chosen truth over fear. They have chosen courage over avoidance. They have chosen honesty over silence. And according to Jung, that choice is one of the most meaningful acts of personal growth a human being can experience. Perhaps this is why certain confessions feel so powerful. Not because they guarantee a happy ending, not because they guarantee love in return, but because they represent a victory over fear, a victory over the invisible barriers that keep people disconnected from their own truth. When someone finally says, "I need to tell you how I feel," they are doing more than revealing emotion. They are stepping into authenticity. They are allowing their inner reality and outer reality to become one. And there is something deeply beautiful about that, because life becomes lighter when we stop carrying important truths alone. Life becomes clearer when we stop hiding from ourselves. Life becomes richer when we allow genuine feelings to exist openly. Jung often emphasized that the unconscious continually seeks wholeness. It continually pushes us toward greater awareness, toward greater honesty, toward greater integration. And perhaps that is why some emotions refuse to disappear. Perhaps they remain because they contain lessons we need to learn. Perhaps they persist because they are guiding us toward parts of ourselves we have not fully discovered. Perhaps they endure because they carry meaning. The kind of meaning that changes lives. The kind of meaning that shapes destinies. The kind of meaning that remains long after circumstances change. So if someone has loved you quietly since the day they met you, remember this. Their story was never only about you. It was also about them, about who they became through the experience, about the fears they confronted, about the truths they discovered, about the courage they developed, about the authenticity they finally embraced. And if you have ever experienced a connection that changed you, whether it became a relationship or simply remained a meaningful chapter of your life, comment the number 77 below. I genuinely want to know how many people listening have experienced a connection that transformed them from the inside out. And while you're commenting, take a moment to reflect on this question. Who is the person you never completely forgot? Who is the person whose memory still carries meaning? Who is the person who helped you discover something important about yourself? Because sometimes the greatest gift another person gives us is not merely love. It is self-understanding. It is growth. It is awakening. It is the courage to become who we truly are. And that is where Carl Jung's deepest insight emerges. Love is not only about finding another soul. Sometimes it is about discovering hidden parts of your own. Sometimes another person becomes the mirror through which you finally see yourself more clearly. And when that happens, the connection leaves a mark that time cannot easily erase. In the end, what remained hidden for so long eventually becomes visible. What remained unspoken eventually finds words. What remained buried eventually rises to the surface. Because truth has a quiet persistence. It waits, it grows, it endures, and when the moment finally arrives, it speaks. Not loudly, not dramatically, but honestly. And perhaps that is the most powerful lesson of all. The deepest emotions are not always the fastest. The most meaningful connections are not always the loudest. And the greatest acts of courage are often invisible until the moment someone finally decides to tell the truth. If this message resonated with you, type "I believe in meaningful connections" in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights into Carl Jung, psychology, human relationships, and the hidden patterns that shape our lives. Because sometimes understanding another person begins with understanding yourself. And that journey is one of the most important journeys we will ever take. Thank you for watching.